Hi guys, so today I'm working on a BMW E92 and I will be replacing front wheel bearing. This is a Xdrive model, and it requires some special tools, so maybe you want to stay tuned and see what kind of tools I'll be using to replace that bearing. Little note before you're going to start jacking up your vehicle: if you are going to put on a 4 jack stands just like I did, this is little note or word of advice for you guys. Always start with jacking up your rear end of the vehicle, so choke your front wheels so the vehicle will not be rolling, and then jack up rear differential and put the rear end of the vehicle on the jack stands. Only then you can jack up the front end of the vehicle. On the middle there is a subframe special point for that, for the jack pad, and this way you will avoid any accidents, just in case if the vehicle will start rolling and will slip off that pad. It might damage your radiator if you do it in the wrong way. I know because it happened to me, so but this is up to you. Anyway, starting with replacing the front wheel bearing on the Xdrive model. Obviously remove the wheel. You don't have to put on a 4 jack stands. This is for my convenience because I've been replacing all 4 gear oils and 2 differentials and transfer case and transmission oil. So I had 4 oil changes. That's why for my convenience, I put on a 4 jack stands all around. But you can just jack up one side of the vehicle and put 1 jack stand and work on that side if you wish so. Anyway, remove the wheel. Next, after you remove the wheel, you're going to remove the 16mm bolt that holds an entire brake caliper. There is one on the top and one on the bottom right here. After you remove that, you will hang your brake caliper with a hook to the spring. So let's do it. Now, after you remove the brake caliper, by the way, I disconnected the brake sensor just in case it will be too much stretched and to avoid getting damaged. Now you're ready to remove the brake disc, and you will need a 6mm hex bit, and it should come off really easy. Well, in my case this is a brand new disc, so it's pretty fresh, but you might have to apply some force to remove this little screw. But make sure that you have metric to avoid stripping the 6-point hex. Now I remove the brake disc, and I have more access to the hub. By the way, before I started to removing the brake caliper bolts, I used the PB blaster. So I sprayed it a little bit right here, and I sprayed it a little bit right here. So it helped me to, while I am working on other bolts and nuts, it's going to dissolve some of the rust to help me to come off easy, in the next few minutes. Now the next step, I'm going to remove ABS sensor, which is right here. So right there. Some people don't remove it when they're replacing it, but I rather remove it just in case that I don't damage nothing. Okay, now I remove the 5mm hex bolt that's holding that sensor and simply pull it out. Inspect if it's not broken. Well, if that sensor would be broken, you would have you would not have a four-wheel drive or ABS. Anyway, I'm gonna put it right here for now. And now when it comes to removing this 12.36mm nut, I already hammered those tops with this pretty heavy-duty screwdriver. This is a chisel type screwdriver made by Hazet, made in Germany. I was trying to be very gentle, and I was surprised that this screwdriver was able to make it, you know, happen. And I did not break a screwdriver, so pretty strong quality. Anyhow, this is what you will need to do. So either use a chisel or some kind of a strong screwdriver that you can hammer it, and you can help with your socket and you know, to make it loose. Now, little remark about the socket. So this is a 36mm socket made by Proto, deep one, and this one is a 36mm made by Hazet, made in Germany. Both of them 12 point, and both of them will remove this nut. But if you look closely at the socket itself, you will see that 12 points are kind of rounded. And if you look at this German one, you will see sharp edges on each corner of the 12 point. And if I'm looking at the nut itself, it also looks like it is rounded, but because I've been working on the other side, I removed the original nut. It was also rounded like this, but the new one that I was replacing, because this is a one-time nut, you cannot reuse this one after you remove it. The nut that I installed on the other side was with the sharp edges, so this socket was perfect fit for the sharp edges. Well, now another nut that I ordered from online, it came with a more rounded corners. So maybe this rounded socket made in US will work better, will have a better fit, will be more snug, but it's not actually that. So when I am installing this rounded socket to the rounded nut, you see how much play I have? Pretty big play. Now when I'm installing this 36mm made in Germany with sharp edges, I don't have that much play. I do have some play, but not as much as on this one. Now again, both of them will do the job and both of them will remove, but I rather have a snug fit, and I'll be using this German made socket with sharp edges. Okay, you cannot remove this nut until you pry out those two tops. I mean, you will if you have a powerful gun, but you know, it's easy for you if you use a right socket and you loosen those two tops. Now I remove the nut. I have a pretty powerful impact gun, so it's helping me a lot. And after I remove the nut, I put into this German socket, and I wanted to show you that it has some play, but if I put into this American socket, it has much more play. So even though this original nut looks like it has more rounded corners, it's much snug fit in with a German socket with sharp edges. Anyhow, all good. Now on this BMW, I'm not sure if all of the BMWs like that or only this particular model, but there is no protective cap. So comparably to Mercedes-Benz, that it has protective cap, which is a big plus, because none of the moisture or rust will be under that you know between the on that flange and the actual drive axle splines. on my other side, when I've been working, I didn't have a hard time of removing it because I have a right tool, and let me show you which one I'm talking about. But if you will not get yourself a special hydraulic puller, you might have a hard time of hammering this axle out, and you might end up of mushrooming your axle, damaging so much because it's basically got seized over the last 10-15 years. So better to be on the safe side, and to save your axle and the thread, you need to get yourself a hydraulic puller like this. This one is made in Germany, made by company Kuko, and this is a part number right here if you want to Google it. I've been using it before on my Mercedes-Benz and it was working awesome, and in this case it's gonna work also perfect because I've done another side already. Anyway, it has a hydraulic fluid and piston inside of this cylinder, and you're just going to apply a little bit of force, but it's going to push 10 tons of pressure, pushing that axle out. So let me connect this and let me show you how it works. Okay, so this is how it attached, and I'm going to turn this handle and apply pressure, and it's going to push that axle out instead of hammering. Now I will have to turn off the camera because I need to hold the hub with my one hand and turn it with other hand. As you see, it is spinning right now, but let me show you the final result. Now, as you can see, I've been holding with my one hand with a pry bar and twisting or turning this pushing screw with my ratchet, because there is an option you can do it with the handle or with the ratchet. And guys, even the 10 ton of pressure this puller was doing, or pusher was doing, pretty hard, and after a minute or two I heard a really loud pop, which means that finally axle popped out from its place, because it's been sitting like that, never been touched since the factory for the last 120 plus thousand miles. And so imagine that if you don't have a puller like this, how much of hammering you would be needing, you would need to do in order to pop out that axle. So I do not recommend to hammer it, because you will make a mushroom by the end of the thread. So be careful. And even 2 minutes, after 2 minutes of turning, the axle coming out from those splines really hard, and you can hear it still pops. That's how hard it's coming out, as you can see, because that's, I guess this is the flaw of in the design in a BMW, because there is no protective cap to keep away any kind of rust. As you can see, it's popping. This is normal, this is good to hear. And yeah, so you need that puller, guys. This is the safest way how to push out that axle. Okay, now as you can see, my axle is pushed out. I don't need to push it out anymore until I actually tilt the entire knuckle. For this I will need to remove this bolt right here. It's a 18mm nut on both sides, and yeah, once you remove that bolt you should be able to just tap it on the side of the, slightly tapping it on the side of the knuckle, and it should go down on its own. But if not, I'll show you which tool you need to spread the knuckle and to loosen this strut from the knuckle. Now, even after removing bolt, it's pretty rusty, as you can see, and even after I sprayed with a PB blaster right here, comparably to other side, this side is sitting extremely tight, and little a little hammer did not help in my case. So I'm going to use the original tool that needed to spread this strut knuckle. I hope you can see. This is Hazet, part number 4912-5N, made in Germany, Hazet. But I know the Chinese people, they copy already this tool, and you can buy it for much less than what I paid. I paid like $100 for this little tool, but because I am working a lot, I don't want to buy a Chinese tool. I don't really trust the quality of the steel that they use. So anyway, as you can see, this black middle piece is going to spread, push against the knuckle from the behind, and now you might need to turn the steering to your position, to the left or to the right, whatever is easy, because this stabilizer bar is going to be on your way. But so that you can see what I'm talking about, you're going to see there is a cutout on the knuckle. That's where you're going to put I'm sorry, this is not the best position, there is not much of a room behind. I hope you can see, but let me install the tool and show you how it works, how it's going to spread it. Okay guys, so the tool is installed right there, and it's spreading the strut. It's working well, and as you can see, I moved down by ½ inch already, but I had to hammer it a little bit with a hammer. That's why you see the spot. It was seized pretty badly. Maybe if I would wait longer for PB blaster to resolve rust, internal rust, maybe it would come off easy, but I sprayed it like 5-10 minutes before I started the video, so maybe it's not enough time. So anyhow, it's going down, and but it's not as freely as on other side when I was working. So let's finish this. But actually I realized that this is too fast. I mean too early. I kind of forgot that I have to pull out this flange now, because otherwise it's going to be tilted down and I will have to install it back in place. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to install my sliding hammer, which is a snap-on. I'm going to install it right now and going to hammer it out, this flange first. Okay, now I installed my sliding hammer. This is a pretty heavy duty one. It's like 8-pound hammer. Even though that this is a 8-pound, you still have to hammer it maybe 10 to 15 times. Depends how seized it is. When I've been replacing wheel bearing on my Mercedes, it was enough 3 times, but on BMW it's like 15-20 times. So if you're planning to obtain a sliding hammer, if you're looking at the 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, 5 pounds, this is not enough, guys. Get yourself heavy duty, at least 8-pound hammer, because if I had 15, I would use 15. Maybe it would come off after 3 slides or 4, but this one, even though this is 8 pounds, it's not that easy to come out. So I'll record it after I'm done. Well, I'm done. Here it is. The flange came off. It took me 10 times to hammer it out, and if you look at the splines, they are completely dry and completely rusty. That's why it was coming out so hard. And now I will need to clean those splines with a... After I put the axle on the side, I will clean it with a metal brush and slightly lubricate it, so it will come into the flange during the installation much easier than because I know that it's going to be pretty hard. Now the next step, I'm ready to remove the ring with a big Knipex pliers. This is my favorite one, the part number 4811J3. get yourself a heavy-duty one, because this circlip is springing badly and you need heavy-duty pliers, otherwise, you know, it can fly, injure you or any, you know, of your property. So wear goggles when you're removing this circlip ring. And so let me record it after I'm done this and after I remove the strut. Okay, well, the circlip came out, but with the different pliers, with the 90-degree ones. For the other side, for my passenger side, I use the straight pliers. It was working fine, but somehow on this side I had to use a 90-degree because it was seized pretty hard. And 90-degree part number would be Knipex 4821J13. J31, I'm sorry. Okay, once I remove this circlip, it's perfectly in perfect shape, so I'm going to reuse it. And now my axle, my strut came out, no problem. So now I'm going to pull out the axle itself and rest entire knuckle on a wooden block. Now after I pulled out the axle and tilted the knuckle, it just fell down from my wooden block, but I'm going to put it back so it can rest on the block. Now I'll be ready to press out the actual bearing from the knuckle. For this I'm going to use this set, OTC 6575. I got it from the eBay years ago for like 300 bucks, and I use it maybe 15 times already. It's a time saver, and I don't need any shop press if I have this tool. So with all of the attachments, I'm going to show you which one I'm using for to pressing out that bearing. So from that set I chose the best size for this collar to fit over the knuckle, and it will be slightly bigger size than the bearing itself. And I can even measure it because I have a bearing that I'm going to install it, so I know that it fits inside. That's good. And from the inside of the knuckle I'm going to use this type of a washer to push it out, and basically goes like this from the inside of the knuckle. Okay, let's do it. Basically this is a setup, and I'm going to apply some force with my impact wrench, and from the inside this is how it looks like. I just left wrench against the arm so I don't have to hold it, and all I have to do just press the trigger. It's going to be pretty noisy, and it's going to take about a minute and a half, so I'll turn on when I'm done. And I'm done. Everything is removed without problem. Here is the old bearing, and I'm ready to install a new one. But when I'll be installing a new one, I will not be using the impact wrench because I don't want to put too much stress on the bearing itself. So I'm going to do it manually with a 1/2-inch ratchet. I have a big ratchet like this, and I'm going to install it. So let me put everything and show you how it is done. Now when it comes to installing new bearing, obviously clean everything with a toothbrush. You don't need any sandpaper, just clean everything with a toothbrush, and if you have and a brake cleaner obviously will help. When you will be installing new bearing, look for this black ring on the edge of the bearing, because it's going to be only on one side. That's the side that will be going in. Original bearing also came with the same black stripe on the edge, Maybe it's not visible to you, but that's how it was. So that's how you know that which side is going inside. Now, when I will be installing a bearing, I will be using another adapter from that set that will fit exactly, and it will be pushing a race of the bearing, and this is the one that fits exactly my size, and it's not going to go anywhere because it also has a place to sit, and that's how I'm going to push it in. Now from the inside I'm going to use this collar right here and just a plate from the behind, so it's going to press against the knuckle. Let me put everything and show you. Now this is how it looks like from this side. I did not lubricate the bearing because it's going to go inside really smooth. I replaced many of them over the years and I never lubricated any of them. And this is how it looks from the inside. Just the collar with the cap, and I left my wrench against the same arm so I don't have to hold it. Now all I need to do is ratchet it inside. It's going to take me about 3, 4, 5 minutes, so I'll turn on when I'm done. Now the bearing is already inside the knuckle. Everything went smoothly without any problem. Now the next step is installing circlip. I've seen people forgetting to install it, and after they pressed flange, hub flange, it was already too late for the circlip. So don't forget, the next step is to install the circlip. After I do that, I'm going to take my metal brush and clean those splines, and then I will be removing outer race from the actual, or inner race, I'm sorry, from the actual flange. I'll show you which tool I'm using. Now when it comes to removing inner race that is sitting pretty tight, some people use a grinder and they gently do the cut and then split it with a chisel. I've seen many people have been not very careful and they cut the actual flange, which is a not big deal, I guess, because this is a pretty thick metal, but I rather not to do any cuts because I'm afraid that some of the moisture, dirt, will be going inside of that cut and it will be making, you know, some rust internal and possible damage in the future. So that's why I'm going to use this type of a puller, special universal race puller. It's made by Mueller Coops. I had it for a while, got it from a pawn shop, like for, don't remember now, 70 bucks or something. Anyhow, it's working really awesome, even though this is not made in Germany, because it doesn't say anywhere, but it's extremely heavy duty piece, and even jaws are good after so many usage that I had in my life, maybe 15 times already. It's in perfect shape, still sharp, and the actual jaws are sharp, so they will go underneath of the race. So let me show you how it's going to be done. Basically this is how it looks like, and I'm going to use my impact gun, and it should come out fairly easy. So it came out fairly easy, and now all I need to do is just clean this flange, even though that it's pretty clean, but no cuts, and I'm happy about that. I'm going to try to clean those splines inside because they also rusty. Lubricate it with a anti-seize paste, like a copper paste that I'm using between the brake disc and the flange and the hub, and we'll be trying to press it back in place. Stay tuned. Now pressing it back requires also same heavy-duty bolt and the nut from the behind, and to push it I'm going to use one of those adapters, any one of them, as long, even a bigger one, doesn't matter the size as long as it's over this diameter. And from the inside of the bearing I'm going to use a small adapter. So this is the inside of the bearing from the inside of the knuckle, and I'm going to use a small adapter, so it's going to be exactly the same diameter as the inner race, because it's going to push this inner race, not outer but the inner. So it's going to push against this and here. So let's do it. So this is how it's going to look like, and I'm also going to use a manual ratchet, not the impact gun. I use my wrench against the one of the, I'm going to move it and put against the arm. By the way, my axle was always resting on the knuckle itself, but it was touching this stability control sensor, so be very careful so it will not be pushing way too hard and you will not break this plastic arm. So far I was okay, but I should be more careful and maybe you know, lift it up with some kind of bungee strap, hold it in up position so it will be far away from the actual traction control arm. So be careful to avoid breaking it. Now it looks like it's already bent, but that's how it's supposed to be. This is actual shape. It's not perfectly straight, it's actually supposed to be that way. Okay, let's do it. And it went smoothly. Everything is sitting in place, and this is how it looks from the inside. So everything is perfect. Now I'm going to use some anti-seize compound and lubricate those splines and try to install it back. Installing it back in place. Well, I hope it's going to go smooth without any problems, as long as you align those splines with a hub flange. It should be going smooth, but it's not always that. So if it's going to go back inside with difficulties, I will be showing you how to hammer it inside without damaging actual boot and damaging the axle. Now when installing strut back, I find it easy if I lift up the axle and it sits in place even where I marked it. So now I know it's sitting in exactly perfect spot because I did some scratches for myself. So now I am ready to put bolt, but the axle is still not out, so I'll have to work on that. It's almost, but I need another ½ inch to start the thread. I hope it's easy on your end, unless I'm doing something wrong, but looks like I will be hammering in, you know, hammer that axle out from the inside. Let me show you how. So I secured my strut already with a bolt, and everything is fine. You remember when I've been jacking up the entire axle, I have this rubber padding. It's not metal, but still it's possible that you can damage this metal cover, and it's going to make some noise against the flange. So if it's bent, in your case, you have to take a screwdriver and pry it out, so it will be some gap between the flange and the axle all around, and then you can spin it, the entire axle, you can spin it and see if it's touching anywhere or not. Now this is not the problem. The problem is how to push out, pull out this axle. Now I try with my hand, but it's not going in that easy. Somehow it's much easier on any Mercedes that I ever worked, but when it comes to BMW, everything is much harder somehow. Maybe I'm doing something wrong again, maybe you can write a comment. But in this case, I'm going to hammer it in. So I removed the traction control arm already because it was on my way, and now I have more room for this type of a clamp. So I'm going to clamp it on the axle, and I'm going to make it secure it on the axle and then hammer it from the inside of the plate, so it will be coming out. So let me show you the process. Now this is my plan. With this clamp I'm going to hammer it from the inside, just like this, and I'm pretty sure little by little it's gonna come out. I know for sure that all of my splines are aligned. I double checked with a flashlight and everything, but it's still going pretty hard into that flange. I'm sure that if BMW would have this protective cover, it would cover from all of the corrosion, but this is not the case, so we have to do what we have to do. So let's do it, and I'll show you the final result. As you can see, my axle is finally coming out, but I need another ½ inch so I can grab that thread with a nut. It took me about 4 minutes of hammering little by little because there is not much of a room, but it's going. That clamp is working fine. Hey guys, so it's literally took me 45 minutes to pull out that axle so I can have at least half of a turn or full turn for the nut. Otherwise I could not start the thread. It was just not enough thread. And I'm really glad that I came up with this idea to use this clamp, and I've been hammering it like this for 45 minutes probably until I have some result. Now I'm ready to install this nut, and almost done. Well guys, I'm done. I finally put that nut, brand new nut, because you cannot reuse the old one, and with a roll punch I hammer it on both sides so it's locked now. You don't need any thread locker because you have those bendable tabs. Now the tool that I used, this is what it says here, 390706 USA, and this is how much hammering I've been doing during the 45 minutes. So you can imagine how tight that axle went into the flange. Unbelievably tight. I got this from the eBay. I did not look for the specific tool order. I just looked that I like it and I could use it in my life, and here you go. I did not waste 20 bucks. I guess it helped me a lot. I wish I knew that what kind of tool a dealer have so they can pull out that axle, but there is no way in the world you can hammer it out without some kind of clamp like this. You can make one if you're handy, if you have such a heavy-duty piece of steel, but it was 20 bucks from eBay. I'd rather buy it than spending entire day of manufacturing one tool. But if you cannot find it on eBay, because I'm assuming this is from the GM dealership or something like that, I guess you would have to make your own if you cannot find it anywhere like that. Look for a similar one, as long as you can measure the thickness of the shaft so you can clamp it on and then hammer it out. Well, basically I'm done. I'm not gonna waste my time of showing how to install that ABS sensor, or how to install the brake caliper with sensor, or traction control arm. Everything pretty straightforward, and if you need a torque specification, I will leave those that information down below the link. Well, I hope that was helpful for somebody, all of this procedure, which is possible, and I did 2 sides in under, let's say, 3.5 hours with all of the tools. But because I spent some time with recording and other things around the house, so maybe I could do it in 3 hours. Doesn't matter, half an hour, this and that. As long as you have a set like this, really cool. It's called Hub Grappler by OTC. Again, you can do this at home and saving tons of money. instead of going to a dealer. Okay, God bless you guys, and thank you for watching. God bless Ukraine. Bye.